Hey, every time I do that, it cracks me up. Alright, it's Jim here, and I'm looking at, I'm gonna put an aftermarket rack on this Ride1up City. And one of the issues with the Ride1up City, and a lot of other e-bikes, and a number of frames actually, is they have interesting, that's a good word for it, connection points for a rack on the seat stay. So for this particular rack, there's just two braze-ons on the seat stay, and they're not in a position that any aftermarket racks are going to work for you. I've seen it like this. I've seen it where there's actually one on the back side of the tubing, which is even worse. I mean, I don't understand that. And also with this rack, even though this rack, I will say, because it's bearing the weight on the seat stay, is probably very strong. It'll probably bear more weight than its max 15 kilogram, 35 pound weight limit says. For a pannier, let me grab it here. And I'm sitting down so you can have a good frame reference. So as I show in my other video, you might not be able to see this, but the bulk of the bag is sitting right here, and where it's unsupported by the rack. And so it's hard to get the bottom attachment point for panniers to make contact with that. And not only that, this is a thicker tubing. I'll put in the video what the actual diameter of it is, but it's not a standard. Not very many racks clamps will fit on this. It's going to be too wide. So I ordered the Ibera rack from Disc. It's a disc, adjustable length disc enabled is probably the wrong word, disc compatible rack. I like that it has a lower pannier bar, so if you do have something on the top, you actually still have a good access. I like that it has a little stop for the panniers, and the built-in brake light attachment. It's in it more, see how the rack swings up, so you can actually get your light in there. This one comes straight back, so it's hard to do so. And then of course, this is about where it's going to go. You'll see a much better support mechanism for pannier. So I think this is going to be much better. And also, let's see what the weight capacity. So this says 25 kilograms. So that's around a little over 50 pounds. 55, I think. So that should do the trick. So to accomplish this rack set adjustment or attachment, you have to find a eyelet position down here for the way I'm doing it now. I'll show some aftermarket ways on another video on how you can get away from using this, but then it's better if you can. This is definitely this is where most of your weight's gonna be born. So if you have an accessible eyelet down here, I suggest you use that. So you got the derailleur guard on this one. I'm going to use the upper derailleur guard. This is the upper braze-on bolt. You can see where it connects in. And this is the mechanism, the way it attaches on this particular bike. The thing is, so you don't have braze-ons up here, so you have to, now there's a couple methods you can use that I've used successfully, but what I ended up buying is I bought a seat post clamp rack mount. I've seen these a lot on electric cruiser bikes. That flat-footed technology doesn't really lend itself to a good rack placement, the way that they kind of have that feet forward position. So you basically have a seat post clamp with two attachment points. The one thing you'll know is that of course you lose your quick release. I don't really feel like I need the quick release myself. I actually prefer not to have it. Theft and much of other things. So there will be links on the description of this video to both this seat clamp post rack, seat clamp, whatever it is, that thing, and then also to the Ibera rack. They're just links. They're not affiliate links. I'm not affiliate of Amazon. I don't have that affiliate ability. If I do get it, I'll put that those links are changed to that kind of a link. But for now, it's just a link to help you shop and find maybe something similar if you find yourself in this situation. So the seat tube is 31.8 millimeters in diameter. Make sure you don't confuse that with the seat post diameter, which is 27.2. It's really easy to do. I almost did it myself, and the only reason I didn't is because they didn't make these in 27.2, so I got lucky, really. So when this comes from the factory, a lot of times it's a little tight, so you have to loosen it up a little bit, and it's just a simple slip on there. I already took some of the bolts off on the rack that came with this bike, and I'm going to pull them off the rest of the way here real quick. And you know, there's a number of bikes from Volt Bike and some cruiser bikes that you're going to run into this same situation. And I'm hoping this video helps. And to be honest, if I was to do it over again, I would have not paid $100 extra for the fender rack package with this bike. Mostly because I would like a rack that is better suited for and I use panniers. And the fenders, they're fine. But you could do, you know, you could probably get this rack was about $30. And then this thing was $10, I think 10 or 12. And then you can find fenders in the $20 to $30 range that are pretty nice. And you would be around $70 for a probably better setup than spending the $100 to get it right through the manufacturer. If you have that option to add, and you know, not all e-bike or manufacturers when you direct buy are going to have that option. The other thing I want to know is you could, if you wanted to forego this setup, you can use P-clips. And that's one of the other video I'll show, mounting up a rack with P-clips. They tend to work better on circular tubing, and this tubing is a little oval. So it could potentially work here. It might be tough. And then honestly, when you get to the diameter of P-clips that would fit this tubing, which is probably maybe 3/4 of an inch, you might even need an inch P-clip, they start getting to be $2 or $3 a piece. So you're getting close to the cost of this. So that's when I, in my DIY and somewhat of a cheapskate self, go with this method, which this is just a homemade P-clip. And I made this out of galvanized plumbing strapping. I don't have the roll here handy, but it sort of looks similar to, well, kind of similar to this that is used with some other racks. Oh boy, that was slick. But anyway, what I do is I cut off and make a curve, and then I file it down, and then just wrap electrical tape around there so it protects your frame. And then you would just spread this open and go, and this actually would have worked really well on this particular setup because it's about the right size. And then there's a couple alternating holes, so you can really get the size pretty close. And then if it isn't close, just wrap some more electrical tape around it. And because the upper location here is not really structurally bearing much weight for this setup, so I think that's an okay way to go. I'll show you a little more detail in my other video that I make about fitting racks to just about anything. Show you how to make these. It's pretty simple. You probably see them, you can figure it out. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start putting the rack on here. And I tend to, the one thing I don't know about yet, and I'm going to find out here in a minute, is if these bolts are long enough. And a lot of times I've used a couple of these types of racks, and sometimes the bolts are just a little short. You really want to get the bolt to be fully going through the frame, and you know, depend on what you have going on the other side of the frame. You can even have it going through a couple millimeters, just as long as you're not running into any of your parts of your bike that would not be good to have rubbing up against. I will say that I did do a little experimentation with this rack earlier, so I kind of set some of these things. I don't have to, because these are fiddly. Like these arms, I like these style of arms as opposed to the one that went crashing down over here. Because these you have to bend, and once you bend them and then try to bend them in another shape on another bike, it doesn't work as well. That being said, these limit your flexibility. I like to get the top of the rack as close to this fender as I could, but when I went one notch on this adjustable length, and then I ended up having issues with these running into the fender, which would have been fine. It would just scratch the fender probably, but I just decided to go ahead and put it up slightly higher and go with that method. So that kind of gives you the gist of how this goes, and then from this point it's all just fine tuning. I like to make sure my rack is parallel to the ground. Like I said, I try to minimize the height, and that brings it in closer to the adjustable length. I don't mind it. It seems like it's a pretty strong thick on this particular rack, and I'm gonna just tighten this up to see how it comes into the frame. So there is. That's probably only penetrating about halfway into the frame eyelet there. So I'm gonna go and get longer bolts for these, for this particular spot here, for where it comes in on the disc brake section. And I'm just gonna go in here and zoom in on the way this sets up here. So I think it really works pretty well. It doesn't seem like it affects that derailleur guard. And so I don't really have much bad to say about this setup. I will make sure always, whenever you're pulling bolts out of the brazons here, I highly recommend, as you're doing it, to just go ahead and start them back in there, and keep any dirt or water, that's a big thing from going down this tubing. But I'll be fine tuning this a little bit, and what I'll do is I'm gonna kind of stop the video here, and then I'm gonna cut back to when I have this all adjusted in place, and you can see how it looks like kind of in its finished set with the seat position with the seat on. All right. So it only took me another couple minutes. So besides putting in a longer bolt here, I'm done. I like the way it looks. I'll give a little. There's a little bit of flex, but it's kind of be expected as long as this leg is. I might fiddle with a little bit more, see if I can't drop it to the next lower, and just do a couple things where I might be able to keep it so it's not hitting the fender like it was before. That'll be the only change I'll try to do. And just as a little test fit of the pannier, I didn't adjust my clamps for this rack, but that already is so much better. Like the whole back of the bag is supported. It's not gonna flop around very much. So yeah, I'm like, there's a couple other rack options out there that would probably work as well as this one, but this one is pretty inexpensive. And I guess it has, looks like they have some sort of a carrier system like Toe Peak does. If you got some Ibera stuff. But I hope that helped out with the rack on not only the Ride1up City, but other e-bikes with these. I don't know who dreamed them up, really. I mean, I don't know. Works great for that one rack that would only be good for sticking something on top of, if you don't mind. Yeah, anyway, this is definitely better. You could probably even forego this because there's two beams right here. Here we go. There are two beams up here, so you could actually do, some sort of a piece. You can even do some coroplast or something and zip tie it down, and so you could actually make this really be your fender too if you wanted. You could do that with any platform rack, really. But I'll probably just keep it this way for the time being. But anyway, check out some of the attachment, the way that thing works. I think I said it before, but I hope this video has been helpful. Yeah, good luck with your bike. Hope this helps. We'll get some more videos together soon about some bikes and scooters, and look forward to sharing some stuff with you. All right, thanks. Catch the wave.